UFO experience happened when I was in the military in 1988. Me and another guy, we was on patrol. I was in the U.S. Air Force at that time, and we was on patrol in Panama City, Panama, the one in Central America, and we was on patrol and we seen this object in the sky.
I think that the testimony is rich and loaded in additional hidden language that manifests through this procedure, that we detected additional insight into the testimony of this UFO witness. There is additional testimony that appears to me to tell a story of perceptions of extraterrestrials, perceptions of symbols.
We have John Kelly with us, and UFO Hotline explores consciousness dimensions of UFO contact via digital decryption. And the title of it is UFO Hotline, Secret Messages of the Contactees, now streaming on News Inside Out Plus. So, John, welcome to the show. Are you with me?
I sure am, Lori, and it's great to speak with you.
Great. It's wonderful. Well, last night, this is so wonderful that you're on here for a few minutes with us tonight. John was texting me on Facebook last night, and he goes, I got this new movie out on, is it YouTube, or where exactly is it posted at, where that I saw it from last night? It must be a special streaming place, right?
That's right. I have a streaming partnership that I've acquired to protect my work from the rabid censorship that's presently active in social media. So my serious work is available through News Inside Out Plus.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, News Inside Out Plus. Remember that, folks. And become a subscriber if you... how's a subscription work there? Is it a paid or is it a rental, or what? How does that work, John?
News Inside Out Plus began as a subscription service, as a workshop space for me to develop, to produce small documentary feature productions. And so subscribers can subscribe monthly or annually and receive the content that would come out every month or in the creative period in which it emerged. From that time, I moved on to longer format. Now we're into 72-minute documentaries. And so I'm offering those as standalone titles that people can rent or purchase access to the stream.
Great. And you know what? I didn't know a thing about what you did. So I went in with a completely blank slated mind, and I started listening, and I was absolutely fascinated. Now, the basis of what John has created here is he's taken testimonies from people that call in. Where were they calling into?
They were calling my private independent hotline.
Oh, so these were like people who wanted to talk to you about their UFO sightings, events that have taken place in their life, maybe their contact. Is that correct?
These are volunteers from around the nation who assembled, they responded to my call for volunteers and submitted their spoken word testimonies as recordings and provided me with license to work with that audio using the methodology that we'll discuss. And with their full consent, I accumulated those recordings. Lorianne, you may not remember, but you and I spoke a few years ago, and so you had surveyed some of my work in the past, although you may not recall now. I've been on the scene since the late 1990s. I'm a former CBS radio feature producer with experience in #1 rated CBS television news. So I'm very familiar with being in situations where I had access to large populations and regional populations, and was able to accumulate a substantial archival library of the voices of speakers, many of whom participated in my private sessions because I offer my work as an alternative therapist.
Wow, that is so cool. Well, anyhow, folks, John was kind enough to let me just have access to his latest UFO hotline secret messages of contactees. So I'm working away, doing my bookkeeping. I thought, I'll just, I'll start working on listening to this while I'm working. And I was just so fascinated. So how much of this do you want to tell the audience about before we can get them to go over there and purchase this and listen to it? Because is just amazing.
I think what's on display, there are several layers of experience that the film offers. This is cinema verite. This is reality, meaning that what the viewer observes is real-time analysis performed on my digital audio workstation with real-time commentary. The viewer discovers the findings alongside the investigator in this film for 72 minutes. And so this is a very rare opportunity, and the significance of participating or attending this event for the audience is the greatest significance is that the investigator has a well-known public track record for the quality of their findings being vetted. I wrote about the revived CIA Phoenix program 3 years before The Intercept. I published the name of a Russian spy who was part of a large deportation that took place at the end of the last decade. I published that name 9 months before it appeared in the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, John, when you did this, how did you discover these people or this event before it happened? Was it through this modality?
Simply put, I studied the spoken words, the available media that was the existing media, and I subjected it to an intelligence assessment or a counterintelligence assessment, we could say, using a digital audio workstation. Now, science understands the term multidimensional speech. It was cited by Dr. Koresh Saberi of the University of California at Irvine when he commented on several articles that appeared in scholarly publications published by the Royal Society and by Nature. These discussions of multidimensional speech occur in scientific circles. Dr. Saberi was a co-author on papers in research that investigated the human's brain's ability to decipher backwards encoded speech. They microsampled normal human speech in lab experiments and played back percentages flipped forwards and backwards to the listener to determine the rate of success in decryption that would occur. And they determined through their statistical analysis that the human brain from this one, sample, I don't know how many participants, this was not a, 100,000 participants. This is a, typical small study. But from their sample, they determined that the human brain was decoding backwards speech. And this discussion was circulated in Nature, and it was circulated in the letters of the philosophical transactions of the Royal Society. So scientists in very high-level circles, we're talking about, the descendants of Isaac Newton, are very interested in considering concepts related to multidimensional speech. And it's widely known in audio recording and production circles that forwards and backwards playback of audio recordings, going back to the days of reel-to-reel decks in Germany and Britain in the 1930s, going back to that time, people in engineering labs had the capacity to, using the magnetic tapes, to decrypt them in different directions, through mechanical means. And in the digital era, we have even more capacity to re-examine artifacts of sound and light and so on, digital studies of light and so on. So this digital processing is a very powerful tool. And I'm applying those techniques using existing industry tools. I use Adobe Audition, no big secret there.
I know about that program, yeah.
Nothing's proprietary, but it's the novelty is in the application because we're reversing the playback of the audio digitally. We're mirroring or reflecting the sample, the statistical graph that the workstation generates that we see on the monitor. When we flip the chart and monitor it across time by modulating that time parameter, there are additional dimensions of encrypted speech that reveal themselves. And I believe that the audience, by participating, riding shotgun with me as the investigator, are able to make their own determinations with regards to that claim when they watch the film.
Absolutely, yeah. And I got to say, you really did an amazing job. Because, see, I've heard other pieces like this before, but what I loved about what you did is that you would go over something, you go over it, and then you'd say, yeah, you know what, I can't figure it out, so I'm going to let it go. But I got to tell you, going along with you, there were places when I actually heard something that you didn't. And I was thinking, oh, God, how do I tell him that I found something there that he's not hearing, you know? And so how many people come back to you later after doing this with you through the movie, through the audio movie? How do they tell you, hey, John, by the way, I analyzed what you analyzed and I came up with this at this point? Can they do that? Can they interact with you?
Absolutely.
About your stuff?
You know, when people visit newsinsideout.com where the article's published, and I hope that you'll share that article with your audience, they'll see that comments are provided for our readers on newsinsideout.com, and we have a very active commentary participatory audience that comments on our articles, and so that provides a forum whereby the audience can communicate with me to share their insights and findings. I think what we're really talking about here is testimony to the fact that as humans, because this is reality cinema, as humans, we go through life with 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 eyes, 2 ears, not 10 hands, 10 feet, etc. When we experience reality, it's as it unfolds, as it presents itself. That is real human experience. It's not the film doesn't present a contrived scenario where I edit and re-edit and re-edit and re-edit and right. go back and back and back. What I'm portraying, though, is the technique that was rated as extremely psychedelic by a PhD psychologist who attended my session. That is the technique that discovered the name of the Russian spy. That is the skill set being demonstrated that I did the CIA Phoenix program 3 years before it ever was published in the Intercept. But the Intercept. The Intercept is supposed to be the whistleblower. The Intercept sat on a story for 3 years, and I released it. But you're watching that skill set. That is a very rare, but a highly, highly real-world tested and time-tested skill set. That's the skill set that ID'd the missile strikes on Baghdad that began the Iraq War the Monday after George W. Bush gave his first inaugural address.
See, now I find this absolutely fascinating because what you're really doing is you're transcending time in a psychological breakthrough. I mean, it's like because you're really reading the subconscious and transcending what they've got planned for their futures. I mean, it's very interesting to me. I can't quite wrap my head around it, John. So, but you did a great job explaining it, and I hope that I'm understanding it correctly. It's really cool. I mean, that's all I got to say. It's really cool.
I think it's participatory enough. The documentary is participatory enough that it encourages people to develop their own insights and to begin discussions. And if the film serves as a starting point for discussions that are related to self-discovery and inner discovery and self-understanding and self-integration, then I think the film will have served a purpose. There are many unanswered questions that the film raises, but I think But I think those questions are very important because I do not see those questions being addressed in the current discourse. I do not see the questions that are raised about the dream states of the participants. Yeah. The film, for example, doesn't present a summary where we cross-reference the 3 transcripts that I produced. But if you were following along, you'll notice that all 3 participants were talking about the same issues in their unconscious speech.
That's right. Yeah. It was very intriguing, I gotta say.
Nobody else is doing this, but Dr. Hynek. I'll conclude by saying this: Dr. Hynek insisted that science is expressed through innovation, and he specifically called for improved methodology in comprehensive interrogation of witnesses. It's written in his book, UFO Experience and Scientific Inquiry. My work responds to Dr. Hynek because I'm applying real-world tested skills outside of ufology. My work is already established outside of ufology, and I'm bringing those real-world skills, real-world proven skills, to the UFO question. And I think this is important for anyone who's investigating the UFO question. But beyond that, anyone who works with speech, anyone who works in counseling and therapy will benefit from sitting shotgun with me for those 72 minutes. And I hope that viewers will take me.
Yeah. And John, what I'd like to ask you, if it's okay with you, I'd like to book you on my other show where we can go into depth about it for a couple of hours within the next couple of weeks. I think this is just truly an amazing thing. I just wanted the UFO community to know where to find it and how to buy it and how to listen to it. I really want them to go along with you on this journey because it was fascinating to me, and it opened up even more portals to my consciousness than I even thought I was aware of at the moment. So thank you for that, John. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and thank you to your guest for making some time for me tonight. And I agree. I will be with you, Lauren, on your other show that we can talk in depth further. I look forward to that.
That would be wonderful. Okay, one more time before we go, John. How do they get to it? What is the website? The whole bit. Give them everything. Okay.
Go to newsinsideout.com. And just go right there on the front page under featured story on the left-hand column. UFO Hotline explores consciousness dimensions of UFO contact via digital decryption. UFO Hotline, secret messages of the contactees, now streaming on News Inside Out Plus.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Talk to you later. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Well, you folks, that was John Kelly. Amazing thing going on here. When I was listening to his interpretation of how he does this last night, I fell asleep in front of my computer again listening to it. About the 43-minute mark is about where last I remember looking up. It's an hour, it's 72 minutes long. I tell you what, listening to this, I started thinking about time travel and about how people are consciously living all different states of their parallel dimensions at the same time. And I started wondering if the way he was doing this wasn't picking up on other dimensional time space as well and popping it into our subconscious here in this time space. Anyhow, that's where I went with it. You will go many places with it as well. Everybody picks up something different from this. It's really quite extraordinary. So I do hope you get to it. That's newsinsideout.com. It's called UFO Hotline, Secret Messages of the Contactees. So check it out. The contactees themselves were fascinating too. Their stories were amazing. So check it out.
My UFO experience happened when I was in the military in 1988. Me and another guy, we was on patrol. I was in the U.S. Air Force at that time, and we was on patrol in Panama City, Panama, the one in Central America, and we was on patrol and we seen this object in the sky.
I think that the testimony is rich and loaded in additional hidden language that manifests through this procedure, that we detected additional insight into the testimony of this UFO witness. There is additional testimony that appears to me to tell a story of perceptions of extraterrestrials, perceptions of symbols